Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the first WWDC recap. I'm Ed Arenberg. Be with you for a little while here, and we also have Andy. I
Hello,
say Andy.
hello, hello, everyone. I'm Andy, and I'm happy to be able to be part of this once again this year. Happy to give commentary on what has been happening on this year's WWDC this time
Yeah,
around.
it was a very exciting few hours we all had. I know people from all over the world were watching. I was in chats with people from India in the middle of the night and from England, and I'm out here in Los Angeles, so that had it easy for the day. How about you, Andy?
Yeah, and talking to people like person to person is one thing, but also my Twitter feed has been exploding with people discovering all kinds of new APIs, all kinds of tools and information that wasn't covered on the session. So it's a
Yeah,
lot of information to take in.
sure was. Well, first, a couple shout outs. ADA Awards just happened. So, for those who even got nominated, congratulations. And to the winners, even more so. Quick shout out to Jordy, who was a part of the WWDC community last year. He was in the finals. Didn't quite make it this year, but hey, just being nominated is what counts at those awards. It was quite amazing. If you haven't watched the video, you should definitely jump in and give it a quick show view. I think it was less than 20 minutes. So they did a good job of producing it.
Yes,
We got a
absolutely.
bunch.
Big congrats. I do
Yeah.
want to give a shout out to Jordi because he was hosting these recaps last year. So he was doing a lot for the community. So I'm very happy that he managed to make it as far as a finalist on the awards this year. So that's a big achievement, Jordi. Really big congrats.
Yeah. And that spells well for us next year, I guess.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Let's see. We're hope to keep this overall overview short, shorter than the State of the Union was.
And the main keynote.
Yeah. But there are a bunch of WWDC community events coming up. They'll be going on all week. Definitely check out the WWDC.community page for all the events they've got going on this week. If you haven't looked out through the sessions yet, I was really surprised. I went through the whole list, was bookmarking probably half of them to go watch later. They have a lot of content this year to go through. And of course, the labs. If you have never been to a DubDub lab before, it's quite good. You get some time with Apple engineers, and it's awesome to be able to bring your problems right to the main source of people who can answer it. So definitely prepare, though. You want to make sure you've got questions that are relevant to the topic, and if you've got any materials you need, submit that to maybe a feedback beforehand if necessary, but just be ready when you get going because they give a limited time to get that time to spend with you.
Yes, it's also worth noting that you can also request a lab appointment with the app review team, which may not be engineers, but it's going to help you a lot with getting your app approved or rejected, especially now that there's been a lot of guideline changes, such as, do I really need to implement account deletion in my app? I have this app that it's specific for my country. I can't delete accounts just like that. There's like implications. So also take a chance to see if your app can make it to the App Store without any changes. And if you have any specific situations that you need to be a little bit more lenient with app review, it would be a good idea to schedule an appointment with the app review team.
And yeah, there's one last event at the end of the week. If you still have any juice left, there is a hackathon, WWDC Community Hackathon, where we get to explore all the new APIs and such. You'll probably need to install some betas in the meantime, but as one of the participated last year, it was quite a lot of fun. So, shall we jump in?
Let's get started.
For those who maybe missed the keynote and the State of the Union for whatever reason and are tuning in here just to find out what happened, I'd say that headset announcement was spectacular. I mean, I don't think anybody saw that coming.
Yeah, there's so much stuff to talk about. I'm not even sure if we are going to manage to make it to talk all about it in this one video, but we'll do our best.
Yeah. I think they went pretty fast in their videos, so there was a lot of little nuggets that they spread around. So you can definitely watch some of the highlights later, but I think I wanted to focus on things that are relevant to developers. A lot of
Yeah.
consumer-facing stuff I think we're all going to have fun with when it actually goes live on the devices. But I created a list, so maybe we just jump through that.
Yeah, it sounds
We
like
can
a good idea to me.
hit some of the highlights. All right, well, they started off with the home screen on iOS 16 and talked about live activities, where you can have a API where you can have basically an interactive or live widget on the home screen. Not too many details, but the demos looked pretty good. For anyone who's done widgets before, it's all going to be
Yeah, I
part of
was
WidgetKit, I guess.
Yeah, so the lock screen is very exciting because, at least personally, one thing that I have been waiting for a long time is to have complications on the lock screen, and they arrived in the form of widgets.
Yeah.
So that was pretty exciting. And yes, absolutely. We're not going to give you spoilers about the demos. But yes, like Ed is showing his screen, we have a lot of customization.
Yeah, it gets a little announcement on the bottom, and
Yeah, the notifications have been moved to the bottom so as to not cover your screen. So Apple is giving a lot of focus on personalization this year in general, and it's pretty neat. But widgets on the lock screen is something that I'm sure a lot of people are going to enjoy, and the live activities as well. Although I think it was mentioned that live activities are going to come later this year, I'm not even sure if we can start playing with those yet.
that may be. There were quite a few things that they briefly brushed off and said, coming later this year. And so I think that's going to be like last year, where we're going to see them in 16.1, 16.2, 16.3 down the line.
Yeah, which was the case with SharePlay as well, which didn't even make it to the initial release, if I remember correctly.
No, not for real. To go along with that, they talked about focus modes. And so it looks like they're going to extend focus modes to apps. So we can start to tweak our content based on the focus mode the users have selected.
Yeah, and this is a very nice feature because if you have just one iPhone and you're using it for both your work life and your personal life and whatever else you got going, apps will have the ability to filter content and to display content based on what focus mode you are using. For example, you could have a word processor app that shows your documents for your work profile. It's not correct to call it profile, for your work focus, and then when you are on your personal focus, it will show you your personal documents. So these focus modes are going to be really exciting to have. This is going to, if you just have one device, this is going to help you make the most of that one device. It was already very helpful to choose your home screen based on focus, but now having that deeply integrated into apps themselves is going to be a really good experience for most people.
I just hope all my social media apps take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how they implement that. I imagine, especially for people such as community managers and the like, this feature is going to be a godsend.
They briefly touched on that there's going to be an API for shared with you, and then mentioned nothing else about it.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting how they do that. Unfortunately, I was never able to use the iMessage implementation much because nobody in my country uses iMessage, so shared with you is out of my field of expertise, unfortunately.
One of the more interesting things I think that will sprinkle throughout apps is the App Intents API that's going to integrate with Siri and shortcuts. I'm curious to see. I'm looking forward to the session where we actually get to see how that works under the hood and how we can take advantage of it. But for me, that I think is one of the first kind of hints that maybe there's something there for the headset. What do you think?
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting how they do this. First, I was blown away with what they showed us in the platform State of the Union, how that declarative API for intent works. That's super interesting. And I can also see that being integrated somehow into an AR headset. And see how those actions work. Because, one challenge right now is that if you have actions integrated into your app, they may be hard to discover because you have to add them manually. So even having them added to the Shortcuts app automatically is going to help with their discoverability and their use.
Yeah. Let's see. Next on the list was the live text API. And I think that's both for photos and video, and that's going to be available to apps.
Yes, live text API, super interesting. I can imagine this being helpful with education apps, like the demo they showed. They showed us how you can copy directly from a video, but I am not sure if other players will have to implement this manually. But it's going to be a very helpful feature in general. Everything they showed with live text was super interesting. You know, converting currencies directly from your camera and all that was very, very nice to have. This is a very nice feature that we have ahead of us.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see once people really start to integrate it. There's going to be a look around access and maps for apps. I'm not sure. I guess transit apps and stuff maybe could make good use of that. There's a server-side maps APIs. So I guess people who are building experiences that require maps, this will allow them to extend their experiences maybe to server-side components as well.
Yeah, that's going to be really nice, especially when you're in big buildings and the like. I remember when they added the detailed maps for specific buildings, such as airports, that was very helpful on its own. But extending this to other features within buildings is going to be really nice as well.
Yeah. I think one of the things that nobody was expecting and blew everyone away was their opening up with the CarPlay experience. They showed us a demo, at least, of what CarPlay is going to look like in the car, or extended to multiple screens across the whole experience, from your console panel to everything. I guess the car project is real. It's no longer a phantom project.
Yeah, maybe this is a precursor to whatever car Apple could be making. But I loved that when they showed us the dashboards for what CarPlay would look like when you have it on your car with a new redesign. That was really nice to see. It really felt really futuristic.
Yeah.
So for those people who can use CarPlay, I can imagine that's going to be a really nice feature.
Fortunately, long time to come, but I'm assuming there'll be widget APIs available for us somewhere down the line. They had some little quick nuggets that they threw out there about watchOS and CallKit and Game Center integration with SharePlay. Let's see, maybe some of the sessions will have more info on how all that works. But yes, I think that's something.
There was one API that I'm really curious about, but there's only the documentation, and it looks like we don't have any sessions for that right now, and that's the extension kit. And it looks like Apple uses this extension kit framework internally to offer the extension points to different parts of the system. Widgets are an extension, or the old widgets were an extension as well. There's a lot of extensions for a lot of things. And now, if I'm interpreting this correctly, hopefully I am, because it's really exciting, we will be able to open up our own extension points within our apps and allow other developers to extend our apps with functionality. And I can imagine this being helpful with Imagine Photoshop, which has always thrived by third-party plugins made by other developers. So if extension kit is what I think it is, so far it looks like it is, being able to offer your own extension point and give developers the ability to extend your app, it looks very powerful, like a very powerful feature.
Definitely have to check out that session.
I wasn't able to find a session for that, just the documentation. So they have the documentation for that app, and it's actually documented. It doesn't say no overview available. It's actually there. We have the docs for extension kit.
Okay. Well, they spent a good session on the iPad OS updates. They look great. All the visualizations and stuff for multiple apps and such. And they kind of said there's going to be all these APIs for desktop class apps, and then didn't tell us about any of them. So I guess we have to go to the session to find out.
Yeah, they didn't
But
give
I think
much details on those, but I liked what we saw with external displays and everything like that was really nice. I think the feature of the iPad is very exciting right now. Like last year, they introduced the iPad with the M1 chip, and it was like, but where am I gonna use all of this? And now the iPad is looking like a much more interesting device with all the desktop class apps they are calling it, and there's a lot of sessions for desktop class iPad apps.
yeah. All right. Well, then that's pretty much was it for the keynote. I think that was probably one of the highlights was all the new multitasking stuff for the iPad on that side. But then they got into State of the Union where we got to see Xcode Cloud come out of beta.
After 1 year,
for those who
I
take
believe.
advantage of it, I'm sure they've been looking forward to that, and they actually revealed the pricing. So now people can start reserving their budgets.
Yeah. Yeah, xCloud Cloud out of beta. That's going to be really nice. We finally have a pricing for that now as well. It's not going to be a mystery.
Well,
I also liked everything they showed about Swift, the language itself. Like everything about Swift was known beforehand, because all the Swift development is open and we know what's coming, but seeing the developers show what's new and how all interacts together was really nice for Swift 5.7.
yeah. Well, then they finally got into code, and that was a nice part for devs where they started getting into some of the Swift updates. Which, if you've been following the Swift evolution, they pretty much said, yeah, we're doing all that stuff that they said they're going to do. The new actor models, all the generics look great. The Swift package plugins are intriguing, and from a developer perspective, especially if you've got teams and workflows and stuff that you want to do a lot more custom integration with.
Exactly. Yeah, I liked what we saw for the Swift Package Manager, although I don't have any use for that yet. I'm sure it's going to take a few weeks to see how I'm going to be able to take advantage of all that.
Yeah. Well, then we got a kind of a rapid fire overview of some of the new Swift UI stuff. And
they always do that.
I honestly wish that they had spent a lot more time with it, because as short as the State of the Union was, I thought they had more time for stuff like this. But they give me hope. I think that a lot of the underpinnings, the UI kit stuff that sits underneath Swift UI, may have been pulled out and have been replaced with some of the grids and the layouts and the share sheets and table views and stuff. So now they're all full Swift UI native objects.
Yes, I'm very excited for these features that will help us make adaptive apps much easier. The grids and the view that fits modifier. I really can't wait for that. And
what?
I remember last year when Apple started talking about Apple had a dedicated session to Swift UI last year, and even that dedicated session went as fast as it could. So last year, Apple had a lot of Swift UI stuff that even a dedicated session couldn't cover it all. So hopefully this year we will have a nicer, longer video on Swift UI where they don't have to go through as fast as they did last year, because it was a dedicated session for Swift UI, and towards the last minutes they went blazing fast. Really excited for these adaptive features for Swift UI.
Yeah, well, I think the sessions hopefully will elaborate on all the different details and give us some code samples and let us go explore. Definitely got to go get I did the download, got the beta, so I'll be exploring that this week as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to play around with this year.
Yeah, and some of the widget kit stuff they re-mentioned again, talking about how it's set for iOS lock screens and complications, maybe for the car down the road, but I think sounds like widget kit is our interface to the system level experiences.
Yes, and the nice thing is that now WidgetKit powers complications on the Apple Watch. So if you already had some sort of WidgetKit logic going on your main app, you can probably make a complication for that very quickly with your same logic and everything to have a complication ready on your watch.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. They covered some time with the Messages Collaboration API, which I believe basically going to allow you to kind of do some of those same integrations that they've got with their apps for our own apps.
Exactly. Yes, it's really nice that they are giving us the same tools that they use to power everything in their own apps, so we can power ours. It's the same case as CloudKit. CloudKit was internal for Apple, and it powers all of their apps. And it looks like they are following the same path of opening up everything they use, so we can use and improve our own apps.
Yeah, let's see. Then they went into focus filters. I think they covered that earlier as well. So that was just a kind of a rehash of some of the focus filters, but we'll be able to customize our apps with the focus modes, the Apple Maps integrations, the server-side API. Looked intriguing for those people. And then they got into WeatherKit. And WeatherKit's looking a bit like HealthKit to a degree, but except they're charging for it.
Yeah, actually, I found that very surprising. If there's one thing I didn't see coming, was a dedicated weather weather API. So that was welcoming.
I mean, they bought Dark Sky, was it, a couple of years ago, and everyone figured something was coming. And certainly they enhanced their own stuff, but I wasn't expecting them to be a charge layer for that. But I guess there's a cost to gathering all that data.
Yeah,
$99 a year doesn't cover it.
Unfortunately, now it doesn't. So yeah, don't hammer your weather calls, guys. It's going to be very, very heavy.
Yeah. Although, for the low end, 500K, if you'd only need it once a day, maybe you can structure it in a way that you don't need it as often as a real weather app.
Exactly. We can look forward to that. And maybe the limits are going to be more generous than we think, like they did also with CloudKit. CloudKit is free with limits, but if you go over those limits, you can pay. But I have never heard of anyone going over those limits. So sometimes it looks like Apple just adds these limits to avoid abuse, mostly.
Probably. All right, well, that's my entire list. So this is a quick summary of everything I think they covered, at least from the API side. Anything else you thought was impressive or wanted to comment on?
Well, not from the keynotes, but I was looking at the session list. And there's one that I think is going to be very interesting, called using Xcode for server-side development.
Yes.
So this is going to be... Yes, sadly it's on Friday, so we gotta wait all week for that one. So it's going to be nice to see if they are endorsing one of the tools that already exist. Maybe they are trying to make their own thing. I'm really looking forward to that session. And of course, there's a lot of APIs that they really haven't covered. Oh, yes, there's one thing that they mentioned in the State of the Union that I liked, which is driver kit for iPad. So the iPad is getting a lot of computer functionality, so it looks like the iPad is trying to be a computer without really being a computer, but not being a tablet. It's like this super compressed computer that can do a lot of stuff. The future for the iPad is really exciting starting this year. Now I understand why they would add the M1 chip to it. It's starting to be justified.
Right. It feels like they're defining a class of devices that are distinct from the iPhone and from the Mac, that yet has the power to do creative work and build things, and that is distinctly different experience than, say, you'd get on the Mac.
Yeah, it's its own thing, and it's looking really nice. I mean, it's getting virtual memory, something we haven't seen in an embedded Apple device in, I don't think ever we did. And now your apps can use up to 16 gigabytes of virtual memory. That's a lot, and that's going to enable for a lot of pro apps.
Yeah, I'm sure Adobe's working hard on it.
Yes.
Well, Stage Manager to me looked like, I think, the big winner from a UI user experience perspective. We know they've been working on some sort of multitasking experience for the iPad, and the thought that they even extended it to the Mac as well meant that, I guess they see some belief in this as a way to focus on what you need when you need it.
Exactly. Like Gui Rambo said on Twitter, who would have thought that resizable Windows was the key to multitasking? And it looks like we're finally getting that.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to playing around with that a little bit on my Mac when we're done, but that's pretty much I think our session for today. Look forward to the future recaps coming up. Hope everyone gets a little sleep tonight and manages to watch all their videos tomorrow, and we'll jump right in with more stuff next time.
Yeah, getting sleep is going to be hard, but you will need to do it. There's a lot of content to consume, not only from the sessions, but people are uncovering stuff in Twitter and other social networks as well. So there's a lot to look forward to this week.
Okay. Mishi, I think we're done for today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for your time, and thank you for watching.